Mr. Cote. Um, you may call me Thomas since we are all adults in our workshop. What are some ways that we use Google Forms? Now, Google Forms is a wonderful platform inside the Google Workspace. Google Forms can be used for many different options, and I'm going to give you three of those today. First and most importantly, we're going to talk about our communication with our parents because that's the foundation upon which we build our relationships with our students. We connect with the students, with their parents, and form that bond that is needed for student achievement. So let's take a look as a sample survey first. This is a parent survey that I use on several occasions at the beginning of the year. Why do we do a parent survey and why do I use Forms? Well, Forms allows me to gather all this necessary data in one fell swoop. It also allows me to see the responses in a report so it's connected to inside the Google Workspace to Google Sheets, and Google Sheets I can print an exact form, print it out, put it inside my teacher to go binder in case of an emergency. I will have direct contact information for my parents. I will also understand what are multiple ways to contact them besides their phone. I'll get their email. What's the best way to contact them? And we know that contacting parents is different for every student. Some parents like to work in the evenings. Some prefer to be contacted early in the morning. Some just don't respond. And this is a great way to find out whose parents are going to be engaged in the learning process and how we can engage parents in the learning process beyond just our sample information. So this is something that is great to do at your open house. Now, if you're still teaching virtually, this is a great way you can share this type of form through the virtual classroom through Remind, because we know that Remind is that tool that allows us to communicate with the families, and this can go out to the parents and they can fill it out virtually without having to come to the school. Another way that we use Google Forms is for our formative assessments. And as we know there is summative assessments, and then we have our formative assessments. And our formative assessments are ongoing. They start with usually like a pretest or a opener. We have some type of opener that goes along with it. And this is a great example of what I used for my prepositions quiz at the beginning of our lesson. So I give this prepositions quiz at the beginning of the week, and then I give it at the end of the week. So I kind of can judge the growth. In between times, I can give a little ticket out the doors each day. I can do little hot seat games. But I use Google Forms because it does two things for me. And this is an example of a prepositions quiz that I got off of Teachers Pay Teachers, which I love and my students find very easy to use. Of course, the students put their names in. I can insert the picture and then with the question and the answers available, and then I just go down below it, insert the answers, and the students, as they select their quiz, when they're done answering their questions, they would hit submit. The beautiful thing with Forms is it grades it automatically for me once I've selected that options in the quiz function. And then I can once again print out a report through Google Sheets, which is in the Google Workspace, and I can upload that right into my Infinite Campus. And then lastly, teachers can make fun games like breakout rooms. And this is an example of a breakout room we used this year in our virtual classroom. So the students follow the scenario as it goes along. It provides them, they will go from one form to the next. So the first form has them complete their first and their last name. Once they hit the next button, it'll take them to a form where they have to decode letters and words and answer the two questions. Now they have to get those two words decoded first, and then they can go to the next breakout room. Once the next room is available, once they've entered the next room, they'll read a short scenario about how they celebrate holidays in Africa, from that room once they've answered the breakout question. So they have to make sure that they're reading and they're answering their questions appropriately inside this little breakout room. So these are 3 samples of how we use Google Forms within the face-to-face environment, but also within a virtual environment as well.